So as I've covered here before, California has seen their deficit increase quite a bit over the last year. The state actually had a surplus a couple of years back, which is pretty rare these days.
The state facing a massive budget shortfall, the largest dollar amount ever. We're talking to some $68 billion in the red, according to the new report by the Legislative Analyst's Office, the LAO.
Yeah, according to the report, the majority of that deficit is coming from less than expected tax revenues over the past year. And experts tell me it's going to be a tough couple of years ahead to get us back on track.
With the deficit now being over $60 billion, Newsom is having to answer more questions in the press about this topic. And his response was pretty on brand for what you would expect from Newsom. He blamed the weather.
Can we explain to Californians how we moved from a $100 billion surplus to such a significant deficit in just a matter of a few years?
Well, it's, we can explain it. $349 billion of unprecedented capital gains, 11.6%, when traditional capital gains is around 5.18% on average. It's almost double. So you had massive volatility. You have requirements under Prop 2, the GAN. You have requirements under Prop 98, which require that set aside. We use 93% of our surplus, which is, I want to be careful, either on the higher end or without precedent for one-time purposes. So we anticipated, because we didn't want that surplus to go to ongoing commitments, we anticipated that shortfall. What we didn't anticipate is these rain bombs in December, January, February, and March. These atmospheric rivers that led to a federal declaration that led to FEMA and the IRS moving in a direction where we couldn't collect our taxes until, I believe, November 16th, as opposed to April 15th. And so therein lied this blackout period that beguiled all of us, the LAO, finance, economists, experts. And interestingly, has been at the White House recently, had an impact in terms of the IRS collections as well with their estimates, because there were other states that had similar delays in their taxes related to weather events. If there was any indication that climate change has impacts well beyond those that are often promoted, I would consider our financial delays as just another example of why we need to tackle them. Another reason I'm looking forward to conversations that we'll be having next week.
If you actually look at the numbers, California is a perfect example of how you cannot tax your way out of a deficit. They've had a major exodus of people leaving the state due to COVID restrictions, lockdowns, due to high taxes, probably high crime is a big factor in that. And as they continue to lose more people, this deficit is only going to continue to get worse. And while you might say this is California, I don't live there, I don't really care. The issue is that these people flee to states with less regulation and lower taxes, and then in most cases continue to vote for politicians that will raise taxes and add regulations, leading to the original problem that we started with in California. It's quite the weird political circle that goes on. There's a bill in California right now that's kind of a microcosm of this larger issue. What the bill would do is force changes about self-checkout lanes in stores. Essentially, it would take the power out of the hands of the company that owns the store, and it would mandate to them what their self-checkout lane has to look like and regulates what they're allowed to do and not do within that self-checkout lane. Whether or not you like or dislike self-checkout lanes, what this is showing is this is a response to their high crime rates that they're having. So then the government creates a rule that bans something instead of addressing the actual issue that's causing the high crime. It's always a band-aid by legislation.
The self-checkout lanes at grocery and retail drugstores would look a little different. Senate Bill 1446 allows those stores to continue offering self-checkout if all these conditions are met. Checkouts are limited to 10 items or less. At least one staffed checkout lane is available. Customers are prohibited from purchasing certain products that require an ID, like alcohol and tobacco, but also items behind locked cabinets. And one employee can only monitor up to 2 self-service stations. Supporters say it will reduce retail theft and make working conditions safer.
This act will protect workers and the public by ensuring safe staffing levels at grocery and drug stores and regulating self-checkout machines in a way that's being smart on crime.
Letizia Costa manages multiple self-checkouts at a Lucky's in Pinole.
I have also observed customers who just walk through the self-checkout area when there's no workers and they walk out with their items.
Costa joined the state senator for a virtual press conference this morning. She says in February she saw 3 women stealing items, so she called 911. But then they turned around and attacked her.
And because of this incident, I am terrified to report any incidents of theft.
The proposed law would also require employees monitoring self-checkout to be solely focused on that task and not be asked to do anything else.
I think it was President Reagan said, we're from the government. We're here to help.